People can also realize when you're genuine versus not. And there's a lot of fakeness, I would say, in like the event world. A lot of people who want to be someone but like don't like back it up.
You're a product manager at a big tech company that everyone would know. You've got enrolled at Harvard Business School. Photography, some of your work's been in the Met, in the Whitney Museum. But like I said, you throw these lit ass parties, events.
We started 6 months ago, and all of our events have been sold out. We did events in New York, San Francisco. We had like a teaser event in Accra, and then we're going to DC. Probably do LA this year. And this is all in 6 months. If I do this for a year, it could be insane.
Do you think you take like pride in these accomplishments?
No, which is weird. Like maybe it's just like a family thing, but like
What makes you say it's a family thing?
so like I don't know if it's culturally or family, but like whenever I do something good, they're like, that's cool, what's next?
What would you say the cost of that is?
The cost of
The what's next?
I'm always on go. Like it's very hard to be content with.
Before we get into the video, YouTube analytics say that 90% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. If you want to see even bigger guests, better conversations, please subscribe. It really helps us grow the podcast. And with that, onto the video. It was funny because obviously we met at a party.
Yeah.
And I think we spoke for like a few minutes, and then we exchanged Instagrams, whatever. And I didn't really think anything of it. And over time, and as time has gone on, I'm obviously seeing your content on social. And to be honest, it was just impressive, man. Like the photography was impressive. The events, I went to one of your events. Like the shit was fire.
Really?
Yeah. I went to the one you had in Brooklyn.
Okay, dope.
At Basquiat's Bottle, I think it was.
Mm.
Fire. Like the vibe was sick.
Appreciate it.
And even just like I think you did a post recently on the Elevate social like page where you kind of went a bit into like your story and then also the story of your co-founder. And I think it was when I saw that I was like, this guy's doing some shit. So I was like, let's get him on the pod and let's hear the story.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's where I want to begin, because obviously like you're a product manager at a big tech company that everyone would know. You've got enrolled at Harvard Business School. Photography, some of your work's been in the Met, in the Whitney Museum. But like I said, you throw these lit ass parties, events. How did you get into events, man? Like, what is the... This episode is brought to you by Free Agency. If you want to take your career to the next level, Free Agency is a company that you should check out. They manage and represent talent in the tech industry, and they provide you with a dedicated talent agent to help you find, engage, and win top of market roles that will maximize your earning potential. No more leaving money on the table. Stop job searching alone and start building your dream career today with Free Agency. Anyway, back to the show.
Yeah.
Like you're doing all this other shit. Like what made the events happen? How did it start?
Can't lie, it was very random. So I was in San Francisco for a year working at my company, and then I decided to move to Brooklyn. And so I was like, why don't I have like a going away party? But there's like a small population of like transient Black people in the Bay Area. So like a lot of us just know each other. Or if you don't know the person, you know of someone who knows that person, right? And so have you heard of the app Partiful?
Nah.
So basically, it's like a Eventbrite kind of, but it's like a less friction. You're basically able to say like, okay, I'm interested in going to the party. There's a wait list, etc. And so I sent out a link saying like, hey, I'm having a going away party on a rooftop. Like, are you interested in coming? There was like 500 people that RSVP'd to it. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I didn't realize that I knew that many people. And it was a combination of me and my friend Calvary. So like, I know most of the people in San Francisco, and he knows a lot of the people in Oakland.
Yeah.
And so it was just like a mass of people that RSVP'd. It was like, how do we like monetize this?
Yeah.
So that party was...
You instantly went like...
I was like, yeah, for sure. I'm like, it was one of the most fun times I had in the Bay. And I was like, we didn't even like plan too much for this. So
yeah,
once we had that like group of people already, it's like, okay, how do we like kind of monetize this and figure out like what the next step? So I think that's how it all started. But it was a crazy going away party, and people were like, yeah, y'all should do this again. And then what really happened is someone from the party posted it on TikTok, and it went viral. And so, like, I'm just chilling one day. People were pinging me like, yo, this is going viral. I'm like, wait, what? And then I see it, like, has over 100,000 views on TikTok. People are DMing me. I got, like, 500 followers in, like, 2 days. I was like, what's going on?
Sick.
And then they were basically like, hey, like, I live in California. I've been looking for, like, a group of people like this. Like, how can I come? Where's the next event? And so started ideating with some of our friends to make a follow-up event. We had people drive in from like Sacramento, people flew in from Los Angeles, and then I was like, okay, for this is our first event, people are doing this already. There's a market for it, so figuring it out, and then it ended up becoming Elevate Social. So yeah.
Damn, that is nice. That is, you know what I like about it? It's like it's so organic as well.
Oh, for sure.
Like the best shit is always unplanned. Like it just happens. You know what? I feel like that's like you might not even like notice it, but I feel like that's like a talent. Like, you know, the person in university or college who like they just know like everyone on campus. Like you're like walking around with them, they're like dapping up this person. You're like, bro, this guy's a celebrity on campus and shit. Was that kind of like your story, or like?
Now that you say it, like I was kind of thinking about this on the way here, and I was like, that's kind of how it was in college as well.
Yeah.
Like I was very into my books. Like during the week, people wouldn't see me, but on the weekend, like I'd be out, and I threw parties as well.
Yeah.
And so there was a group called Block on campus, and I ended up becoming the president of it. And it was just parties for like most of the people of color on campus. Like,
Yeah.
I have a video. There was like 300 people waiting outside for one of our parties, and I was like, this is kind of wild. But like, it had a long lineage before me of like just parties and just like the atmosphere.
Yeah.
But I knew a lot of people through that, and then that network expanded when I joined like different communities like MLT, SEO. So like my reach kind of is like in different cities, and that's in part like how we've been able to expand. Like myself and my co-founder know a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so when people see it on our stories, they're like, wait, y'all are like throwing parties. So like I'll come when you're in my city. So like, for example, we're going to DC in a couple weeks.
Oh, the DC one about to be crazy.
We have like 200 people on the list. As an adult, I have not been in DC,
Yeah.
but I know people that live in DC. They're like,
That's
oh,
crazy.
send it to my friend. So yeah, kind of wild.
What do you think it is about you? Like, why?
I don't know. I feel like I'm an extroverted introvert.
What does that mean?
Personally, like
Yeah.
I like being myself. I like locking in, like doing the hard work. Like at work, like from 9 to 5, I'm tapped in, like doing like my PM stuff. But then when it's after that, like how do I like monetize Elevates? Like I'll go out, meet people, like networking events, like parties, meeting DJs. Like whenever I go to a party, if the DJ is like nice, I'll be like, can I get your IG? This is what I do. Tap in and bring them in for my events, even with like photographers and stuff like that. It's like my mind is always like, how can like I grow this side business that we have going on right now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I also like talking to people too.
Yeah.
Like so, it's kind of easy for me, and I have a want to kind of like expand because I see the base that we have now, and like it can help a lot of people, I would say. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that is sick. You know, actually, before we go too deep into it, why don't you kind of explain what Elevate Social is and like kind of the mission for you guys? Because I know from even reading your website and reading your stuff, it's not just like we throw lit ass parties. It's like there's more to it.
Yeah. So I can kind of break down like the idea behind like kind of how it started. So most of the people that are transient into San Francisco, they're all like in technology, finance, stuff like that. So it's like very professional community. And so when we saw that, it's like, okay, how can we kind of connect these people that like didn't see each other before? So like when I first moved to San Francisco, without like my MLT community, like Management Leadership of Tomorrow, which is a college community of people that like get internships, etc.
Yeah.
It's like a mentorship program. Without that, I would not have known like where the Black people are. It's like it's very spread out and like it's very siloed, right? So like realizing that, especially after like COVID and the pandemic, like people just like were inside, they didn't know where people were, especially moving to a new city. So like, how can we connect these people? So whether it be through smaller activations such as networking events, like we had a networking event in the Mission, and like it's kind of cool to see like every party that we have, people become friends, right? So like people will come with people that they met at like a networking event or at like a happy hour that we threw. So it's kind of like a community. Like literally, I'll be on IG. I'm like, wow, y'all are friends. They're like, yeah, we met at your party. Like even like at the Basquiat party, they were like, I haven't seen this person since high school.
Yeah.
But it's like a group of like-minded people that end up seeing each other in the same places. Like, and I think that's kind of how it's grown. But the mission, I would say, is just to connect like-minded individuals, whether it be professionals, visionaries, creatives, all of them alike, just to get them in a place and like fellowship, I would say.
Yeah.
So you've seen it on a large scale in terms of parties, but we also like are gonna have like corporate sponsorships doing like smaller happy hours. Like for example, we have an event at Bedvine, and it's a Black-owned bar in on Tompkins Avenue in Bed-Stuy. That's just gonna be for people to meet each other, right? And so whether it be smaller or bigger, just building that community and seeing how it grows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? It's sick, and I like that it's more than just parties, because it's like obviously we like to have a good time, but it's cool when we can actually like build especially like build as a community as well. Like I like that shit. One thing I've always been interested in is like almost like the behind the scenes of what it takes to like throw a good event.
Oh yeah.
Because I think, and obviously I've been to one of your events, like I know the feeling as like the person that's there of like the music's good, like the people are cool, the venue's cool, but I'm sure there's like a whole nother level of thinking as like the organizer. It's not just all a bunch of people in a room. Like I'm sure there's like more to it.
Mm-hmm.
So like even when you're thinking about like just take me behind the scenes. Like when you're thinking about doing potentially an event, like what are like the first thoughts in your mind? Like what are the thoughts when you're thinking about like what venue or who to invite or like what the price should be? Like take me deep into it.
Yeah, it's a lot that goes into it. Like when I tell you after my like 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, like I do this until like midnight every day. Like it's like a rigorous process. Like me and my co-founder would be on calls like all the time.
Yeah.
And so like first I would say is like trying to find a venue. It's really hard to get into venues if you don't have like a large fan base behind you, right? And so we had a party at Origin, which is one of the biggest clubs in San Francisco. We were only able to get to that because like we had a proof of concept. And so we started off smaller. Where we started off is we wanted to like work with like Black owned businesses. So like one of the first places that we had an event in San Francisco is called Trademark Sports Bar. And basically I actually lived a block or so away. A lot of my friends and I, we went for like happy hours, but we realized that the demand wasn't there for people to be there like for a brunch per se. And so we proposed to them saying like, hey, we had like 400 people at a rooftop party. We're trying to monetize and become like an actual company. Like, would you be willing to do a day party and a bottomless brunch with us? So we worked out with them, figuring out like what the pricing for brunch would be. Like, we don't have enough capital to rent, so can we do a revenue share? So doing it like that, right? And so like there was a lot of weeks before that figuring out like what's the right revenue model, how can we get the people in, and then also people to like advocate for us, right? And so like once that went viral on TikTok, we reached out to that same person to say like, okay, would you be willing to promote this? And also our friends who are like on the ground saying like, hey, like this is a good place to be. And so a lot of the planning and preparation takes time. So I would say like whether it be from DJs, figuring out how to do that. Like at the beginning we did it all like in-house. Like my co-founder, Kofi, he didn't DJ before we started. And now he like is a resident DJ at like a big club in San Francisco.
Oh shit.
And so we were like, okay, you'll take the music part of it. I'll take like the creative part in terms of like photography, videography, and like some of the planning we do together. And that's how we started. So like I was sober at all of our events, just taking photos. He was DJing, like we were just working, bootstrapping it. Not until now, like, can we kind of move back from it?
Yeah.
But like it's been like a lot of in-house stuff and then finding the right partners to do the stuff that we know that we could do well ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I like hearing the realities of it because I think people will listen to this episode and they'll be like, you know, I do some parties in university. Like I could do that shit. Or like I think it just sounds fun to be like, oh yeah, I throw parties. You're probably thinking like I can be like partying as well and like making money from it. And like even when you say the reality of like I do my 9 to 6 and then from 6 to midnight I'm doing this shit. Like this is like obviously you enjoy it, but it's like a grind. Like you're doing it, like it's work. I think one thing I'm curious about is I think there's a difference from like going from doing parties and like having fun events with like friends to then doing an event where like you're selling tickets and people are paying. Like that's a big thing. Like when people are willing to pay for your shit, especially because I feel like especially if people feel like they know you, they're just like, oh, like can't I just come kind of thing?
Yeah.
You get that?
Oh yeah. I got that at the beginning and then now I just don't hear it. Like
why do you think?
Because I think it speaks for itself. Like we've charged like up to $40 for parties, and people like our last party in San Francisco, someone came to the door and they're like, "I have a 50, can I get in?" Like, because the demand is there. Like, in terms of the San Francisco market, at least, like there's only a couple groups that throw like parties. I would say like as efficiently and like as fun as like we have. And so like when people see like, oh, all of my friends are going to be here on like a Saturday night, I want to be a part of that too, and it kind of has become a community. Like. And what we try to do is have scarcity in events. Like we've been offered residencies. Like residency in the event world is like every Friday you throw an event here, but like we kind of want the novelty to be there, right? So like we pick and choose who we want to work with. Like different venues have reached out to us. We're like, we don't think your venue is like the most optimal for us. So like we're very selective in like the process, and when we have events. And so when we have them, like our last event, we had one I think in November, and then our next one wasn't until last month,
Yeah.
right? And so like there was like a 2 month span in between where people were like, where's the party? And like we're like, just wait for it. And
Yeah.
when it comes, the line was, we had like at one point like 160 people outside just waiting.
Yeah.
I came outside to like help one of my friends get in. I looked to the right. I'm like, why is the line going around the corner? I'm like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So yeah, building that demand, like that's also part of marketing. But yeah, I think it's just some people see the proof of concept, and like I think that's kind of how it started. And even at the last party, when people were like, we had some of the Warriors in the building, and then like someone from the Cincinnati.
Golden State.
Yeah, I can't say who per se. I'll show you photos later. But like,
crazy.
yeah, like they saw the Warriors there. They saw some like a linebacker from the Cincinnati Bengals who's there. Like there were like celebrities in the house. And then like they're like, oh, this is not a game anymore. Like this is an actual like company.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like that's an inflection point when people were like, okay, like I see what y'all doing. I'm like, I'm willing to support, even if it's not free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, like even with this podcast, it's a great moment because I think anytime you're doing like especially if it's like an entrepreneurial venture, like it's your own thing, there's a moment at the start where like you're talking about what you're gonna do, and like you haven't really got going yet. So it's mostly words at a certain point. Like people don't take it seriously, and it's such a beautiful moment when people like they're like, oh, like he got some shit. Like he ain't like they're not playing.
Oh yeah,
like,
it's nice. Shit. Yeah. And like in the beginning, we'd get like DMs from people be like, "Oh, can you get a group of 5 of us in?" I was like, "It's already sold out. Like I can't like extend that favor." And then it's like people realize like when we send like 90% of our sales, maybe 95% are pre-sales, because people know like once it comes out, like it's gonna be gone.
Yeah.
And so like the demand is there, so people don't even ask me for like once we like literally we'll send out a text blast saying like it's up, we'll get like 50 sales in like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of crazy. And so like there's like a loyalty to it. And so it's great to see how it's growing.
Is it surreal for you?
Yeah. I would say so. One of the craziest parts is, so I moved back from San Francisco to Brooklyn last August. So I've been here. I've been traveling a lot, but I decided to go back to San Francisco for like a month and change because like we had a lot of events lined up. So I subleased for a month. We went out and people were just coming up to me, but like, do you run Elevate? Or like, oh, like, wow, I came to your events. Like, can I get you a shot? Like, I really enjoyed it. Like, it was kind of wild. I was like, this is like a very different line of thought. And like when I first came to San Francisco, like, shout out this guy named Flygerian Jeff. Like, I went to all of his events. He owns something called United Tribes of Africa. And then now, like, we just had our last event, and it was a collab with him. So it was like people that I wouldn't say look up to, but like people that you like respected in terms of like events. Like, I actually work with those people now too, right? And so it's just interesting and surreal. Like when I go back to San Francisco, they're like, oh, like I've heard about Elevate. And like there are people who I didn't even know that go to our events because they become so big now. Like I didn't even know that you were at the one in Brooklyn. Like, like it's kind of wild. So I think it's very surreal, but I'm settling into it.
Yeah. So the event when you said some of the Warriors came and then one of the Bengals came, is that the first time like celebrities have been at your event?
Big name celebrities, I would say, yeah. Like, yeah, I would say so. But we've had like big DJs come to our events too before. Like one of the DJs that worked on Corday's tour was like there, and he also spanned for us too. Damn. And so like, it's cool. Like I would say like all the biggest DJs, or a lot of them, we've been able to have like work at our events and DJ for us. Yeah. So I think that's cool. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully we get more like celebrities, quote unquote, but we're really trying to foster more of the like that community. Like if the celebrities come, like that's cool. But like we have our niche, like the young tech, consulting, finance, like creatives, artists, entrepreneurs, like those are like what we generally attract. So yeah, it's the bread and butter.
You know what I respect about you is I feel like you don't force anything
at all.
Like even when we spoke at that party, I probably like we live in New York. It probably came up like, what do you do? Bro, I didn't even really fully know what you did until like I saw your Instagram and I like saw the events. Like you don't like, it's not like you're selling. Like you're not even and I would say it even comes across in the company when I see your guys' marketing. Because I think what you said is true about like the FOMO. It's not like you guys are posting all the time. But every time I do see posts, you're doing an event, and then I'm seeing the footage from inside the event, and I'm like, oh, this shit going off. I'm like, wait.
yeah.
And a lot of the time, it's not even. I think the first one I saw, it was in the Bay, like you were in San Francisco, and I was like, when this guy come to New York, I'm going to that. Like that shit is good.
Yeah.
But I think that thing of like not forcing it is actually such a big thing. And even when you talk about being able to get like certain DJs coming to your events, certain organizers, like venues wanting to work with you. Here's what I want to know. That trait of not forcing things, like where do you think it started from? And like what kind of, do you think that is kind of, I don't want to say a superpower, but like do you think that is kind of like something that has generated a lot of success for you?
I would say so. Like not forcing things, and like people can also realize when you're genuine versus not. And there's a lot of fakeness, I would say, in like the event world. A lot of people who want to be someone but like don't like back it up. Like we've gotten great feedback from like the people that we work with. Like one of the biggest DJs that we worked with was like, I like what y'all doing, so like I'm gonna give y'all a discounted rate just off the love. And like he'd pull up and bring people who's like, nah, these kids are cool, like they're doing the good stuff. Like and that's great to hear, because like we try to just build this community and let it speak for itself. Like if you look at our IG, like before we only followed ourselves, now we don't follow anyone. Like we've never paid for marketing, and all of our posts hit like 500 likes and like multiple comments, like over 10, 20. And so like it kind of is just, the brand speaks for itself, and we try to not like do too much outreach. Like eventually maybe we'll do paid promotion, but as of now, like I don't see a need to. Like it just speaks for itself. Like in DC, what was wild to me, there's a person I never met. They posted on the story, tagged me, my co-founder, and Elevate. They said, I'm telling all my friends to pull up, everyone slide. This person's never met us before. Yeah. And I'm like, this is dope. Yeah. So like, and now like there's a waiting list of like 200 people for the DC events. And so I think it's just like seeing the brand itself, people were like, okay, I respect it. I see where it's going. So yeah.
No, that's
not
sick,
forcing
man.
it.
That's sick, man. All organic.
Yeah.
No, I respect it. Okay, cool. Let's talk about we'll come back to the event stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about like, I guess more of your like formative years. Even when you were like in school, like growing up, like what did you think you would be? Like you think you would be doing events like this? You thought you'd be a photographer? You'd be working in tech? Like what was the vision?
It depends on what part of life you're asking about. It's like when I was younger, I was really into sports. So like I was like, I either want to be, as a lot of kids, like I want to be a professional sports player, or like if I can't do that, I want to be an agent. And then when I realized I didn't like law, I was like, there's no way. But I'd say when I finally kind of had a good sense of what I wanted to do was in like high school. And so there's a program called All-Star Code. I did it my sophomore year of high school. Basically teaches Black and Latino high school students how to code. And the person who started it, her name is Christina Lewis Halpern. Her dad is Reginald F. Lewis, who's the first Black man to own $1 billion company in the United States.
Damn.
And so like really great person. She's been mentoring me like all these years. But like through that, I was like, okay, I think I can make a lot of money in tech. Because I come from like Canarsie, Brooklyn. And so like people call it the Flossie, Canarsie. But I would say coming from Canarsie and like exit opportunities, like it's really hard to see like where you want to go. So like when I saw tech as like a way out, I was like, okay, like this is a good way. They showed me like they were making 6 figures. Like I want to touch that. Like my mom's like a 3rd grade teacher, right? And so like she's always like prompting me to like shoot for the stars, like aim for the moon type thing. So she was like, tech is probably a good way to do it. Enrolled me in that program, and since then I was like, I want to do something tech adjacent, or like once I make it, or however that be able to give back through the power of tech. Like one of my end goals is still to like have a nonprofit that teaches like young kids how to code, young kids of color how to code. Like for sure, like that's a non-negotiable. Because I see what it's done for me. Like since that internship, since I did All-Star Code, I've had internships every year, like since in high school. Like so my sophomore summer of high school, learned how to code. Junior summer of high school, I worked at Rockstar Games. And so like I was building Grand Theft Auto at like 15, 16.
That's crazy.
And then like I was interning for companies ever since.
Yeah.
Like I've never had a job that wasn't corporate. in my life.
Yeah. You know, it's such an interesting conversation. And it's something that I think about because, and I think I read this on Twitter actually, and someone was saying like, one of the things that it's important to focus on as like a young person is just develop at least one really valuable skill.
Oh, for sure.
Like a skill that is just in demand from the market. And coding, like for sure, is one of those. Like, especially if you work in a tech company, because I used to work in startups before I started doing this full time. And like, you realize how essential the engineers are. Like they're the company, really. Like I have a marketing background, so it hurts me to say that. But like, really, the company is like the software engineers.
Yeah.
If we're keeping it 100. So code is definitely one of those invaluable skills. Like sales is definitely like an invaluable skill to have. For me, like it was media. Like I love media. And media is powerful, like ridiculously powerful. But I think what you said about your mom is interesting to me because I think, and what I've seen, especially like people from our community, when they're younger and they dream and they have a vision, they're usually envisioning themselves as either like an athlete, like a basketball player, NFL. If I'm talking like back home, like in the UK, like a football player, or like a musician, so like a rapper, maybe a producer. It's usually something within those industries, maybe like an actor as well. And so it's interesting to hear your story and hear like you're growing up in Canarsie and you're hearing about people making money in tech, which is one thing. But the bigger thing is actually you thinking like, I can do that shit too. And I'm curious about that second thing. Like at that age, what gave you, I don't even know what you want to call it, the belief, the confidence to be like, I'm going to go do that shit as well.
Yeah. There's a saying of like, you can't be what you can't see. I agree with it to an extent, but like definitely through that program, like I was able to see like Black engineers and I've never seen that before. Right. And so like having a support system of people to be like, you can do this. This is how much I make. Being super transparent. Like this is the skills you need. If you want to get mentored, like let me know. Like one of the people, the program was in a co-working space called Alley NYC. And one of the guys that was like in the co-working space just so happened to be, his name is Keenan. And he owned like a startup that was doing real estate. I didn't know what that meant like back then. When I was in college, I looked him up. He was a Y Combinator founder. And I'm like, oh shit, like that's kind of wild. And he's been like helping me. Like he's a good guy. And so like being able to see like people like that and know like that the opportunity is there and that people have done it before you, like gives me motivation to know like that's something I can aspire to do. And that's tangible. But yeah, the tech thing, so another part I didn't bring up is like on the media side, I was always a creator. Like I always wanted to like create. In high school, I got like really good at photography. And so my junior year of high school, I got a scholarship, or Scholastic gave me like a Silver Key award. So basically what that allowed me to do is like be realized as like one of the best like creatives in like a high school. And then they also put your artwork in the Met because like you did well, right? And so like that boosted me crazy. I was like, oh yeah, for sure. Like I'm gonna be.
You were feeling yourself after that.
Oh yeah. And then like different like rapper, like artists would like reach out, like, and so I was like, this is probably what I want to do full time. But then my mom grounded me again. She was like, you can have this passion, but like you need to have something stable enough to like get you to do that passion full time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at now. So like even with the tech stuff, like I went hard into tech because I knew like I was gonna get money and I could do like photo shoots on the side. Like for any artist that came to my school, like we had Smino come, I shot for him. We had like a variety of artists, like this guy named H.All Cam. Like I was able to shoot for those artists. I'd go into LA, like do mini shoots on the side, but like I was always like prepping for like my interviews stuff.
Yeah.
Like that, right. And like now it kind of comes full circle of like, okay, I work in tech full time, but like my creative side is coming out through these events again.
Yeah.
And so like I'm able to do that and then monetize it more than I was like my photography, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I can even incorporate my photography to these events. Like I shoot all of our events still.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, finding that fine balance. But yeah.
Yeah. Bro, you know what the thing is actually? I'm listening to what you're saying. And it's weird. Like I subconsciously do this thing now with guests where, because everyone we get on the pod has done something. Like there's something about them. Like there's something that they have which has allowed them to achieve these things. And you speak about your mentors, right? Like even the people that you were seeing, like the people that are around you, kind of like pouring into you, that were helping you when you were younger and like still helping you at this point. You speak about like even with the event stuff, like meeting DJs and they'll just like spin for you guys or do whatever. You speak about like even people that you've never met before who are just like helping promote your events. And the thing that triggers in my mind is like, there's something about you that people meet you and they're like, I want to invest in this guy. And I want to help him. And the thing is, I think as well, which is like you do well, it's like you're also delivering on it. Like you're also, they're seeing the results from it. Like they're seeing you do shit. If you were going to be, and like, to be honest, maybe, I don't even know if you're cognizant of it, but like, what would you say, like, how can someone get a mentor? Like, how can someone get someone where it's like, this person invests into me, like time, energy, like, how do you go about it?
How do I go about it? Luckily, like the people who have mentored me started when I was like younger. Like I feel like it's harder to do that as you get older. But when people see a proof of concept and they see themselves in you, I think that's it. And like it just happens over time. Like if they see the drive or if they see like what you're doing, they're like, I like this. Like I'm willing to give some of my like subject matter expertise to help you because like I could have used that when I was your age. Like I've had like, not I wouldn't say mentors, but like people who are older than me who do like similar things, be like, yeah, like you're like doing way more than I was at your age. And like they're like, what you're doing is inspiring. If I can help you become better than what I am now, like please, like let me know what I could do.
Yeah.
So I think that helps. But one piece of advice I would have for people, I'm still trying to work in it as well, but I was told this when I was younger. It's like a rule of thirds. So like you spend like a third of your time with people who like can mentor you, like you can learn, absorb from. A third of your time with people who you're on the same level playing field with, right? So like your peers, whoever your coworkers are, people who have like similar job positions, same point in life, like invest in that. And also a third of your time with people who you want to mentor, like young, like little homies. And like I have a group of people with like people that I mentor, people that mentor me, and I try to spend enough time with like the people who are in like the similar like sphere as me right now. And it helps in the long run, right? Because like the people who you mentor might become bigger than you. The people who mentor you, you can help them with the resources that you accumulate over time. And then you need people to ground with throughout the way, right? And so like being intentional about how you spend your time, I think is important. So I try to do that. I'm trying to work on it now though. Like the line between like business and like social time is like kind of crap because I just like work basically two full-time jobs.
Yeah.
But trying to work on it. Like at times I have to even text myself and say like respond to this person. Like I have so many unread messages. It's like really bad.
Yeah.
But like I'm getting to it. And like when I get, and people know me as like a person is like when they have time they'll get to it. Like they won't be pressed if I don't respond on time. It's like level setting that with people I think is important because some people won't take it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know it's cool actually because I get the same thing, especially if you're like very driven. I feel like people kind of like, they kind of just understand that you're like that. It's not like a personal thing. They're like, yeah, he just grinding, like he just working.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. And I like the rule of thirds because I think so often people are just thinking about how do I reach that person that I really admire? Like I want this famous person to be my mentor or this person who's like a millionaire or achieved a ton in business. And I remember actually watching an interview with Scooter Braun, who like, Scooter Braun has never made a song and is like one of the richest people in the music industry. And I remember him saying in an interview, it was like, people are always trying to reach out to me, like asking for advice or asking me to mentor them or like work with them. And I always tell them, like, build with your peers. Like, don't come for me. Like, build with the people that are at a similar level or like just ahead of you. because you guys can actually build together. You're experiencing things at the same point. It's such an important thing.
For sure.
Okay, cool. The thing I'm interested to understand is, I think when I was researching you, the thing that really came across is like you're very multifaceted. And like even in this conversation, it's clear, right? Like you do the event stuff. And you mentioned you do like all the photography and all that, all the video stuff for your events. But then also like the way that you're thinking about marketing, like you got a brain for marketing as well. You work in tech. Even what I said about like going to Harvard Business School and stuff. How does everything, do you have a vision in your mind of how everything is going to finally tie together? Like it's all going to come to a point, or you're kind of just taking it as it comes?
In the ideal world, Elevate could be the accumulation of everything. Like one of my fears is being like a jack of all trades, master of none. And so like I've been intentionally putting a lot of time into like Elevate to see like where it can go. And this is the first time I've like put time into something. Like we started 6 months ago and all of our events have been sold out. We did events in New York, San Francisco. We had like a teaser event in Accra. Like my co-founder DJ'd with like another collective out there. And then we're going to DC. We'll probably do LA this year. Like, and this is all in 6 months. If I do this for a year, it could be insane. So I'm like trying to invest in that. Like this could
not
be
even
an idea.
like a year, like 5 years, like 10 years. That shit crazy.
Even now, we've had like corporate like sponsors trying to like give us a lot of money to do activations for them. And like, let's say we do like a couple of those a year. Like, I don't know. I feel like if I keep investing into it, like it'll translate. Like I feel like this accumulation of like PM, you need to know how to manage people. Like I do that all the time. Like with Elevate, like I used to work in marketing. I used to run marketing for a nonprofit doing like their social media, and I also used to do marketing at LinkedIn as well. So like I have the knack for that. So like all of it's like coming into like this ideal end state now. Like if Elevate fails, it was a great project and I'll learn a lot from it. But like ideally it won't. But I think this is like kind of where it all accumulates to. Or I can just use like the personnel that I've like met through Elevate to create something similar, or something that just like promotes like what I want, I would say. And so in the end, hopefully just running my own company, that's the goal. Like that's always been the goal.
Yeah.
Like working at all these companies, I get like the best of all of them, right? Like I learned how to be a PM at like one of the largest tech companies. I did like coding for like one of the largest game companies. I worked at Bain. I was a management consultant. Like I've done like the whole gamut of things.
Yeah.
And so like kind of bringing those all into like, okay, how do I take the best of all these places and bring it into like what I do? And like doing that kind of now with Elevate, but it might be something in the future. But as of now, just investing in what I do now.
Yeah. You think you take like pride in these accomplishments? Or like, is it like, do you ever reflect on it and you're like, because that's like a fucking, like, even the shit you just said, like, there's some names on that. Like, there's some accolades there. Like, do you take pride in that, or is it just like you're just building?
No, which is weird. Like, maybe it's just like a family thing, but like, I don't know.
What makes you say it's a family thing?
So like, I don't know if it's culturally or family, but like, whenever I do something good, they're like, "That's cool. What's next?" Like it's kind of like brushed off. Like when I got into HBS, I was happy for a second, and then I was like, "That's cool." Then people were like, "Oh, that's dope. You got in." I'm like, it's a great school. Like I'm still like happy about it, but like it's not at the forefront of my mind. Like it's just like another thing that I was able to do, right? And so, yeah, maybe like I need to do more self-reflection of like you kind of did all this stuff, but for me, like it still doesn't seem enough yet. Like I've had a lot of accomplishments. Like I've done more in my years of life than like a lot of people can say, which I'm like very proud to do. Like even traveling too, like I've accumulated like the amount of savings to like I went to Ghana and we were like, let's go throw an event there. Like I'm able to do that now, right? But like to me, it's like what's next. I'm always like a what's next type of person, but maybe giving space to reflect and be content with like a lot of stuff that I've done so far. So
yeah,
finding that fine balance between like the future versus now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like part of the reason why you've achieved these things is like because of that mindset to a certain degree. But what would you say the cost of that is?
The cost of
The what's next?
I'm always on go. Like it's very hard to be content with one thing for me.
Yeah.
It's like even with Elevate, I could have been cool. We could have accepted the residencies and just like stayed in like San Francisco. Or it's like, nah, we can expand. And so like what also I'm trying to do now is like be more intentional about like what I'm doing and like look at past people and like what they've done and how they failed or how they succeeded to like kind of dictate how we should continue. Because like I don't think it's healthy to always be like, what's next, what's next, what's next. So I'm trying to mitigate like the negative or adverse effects of that in the future. But I think I'm doing a good job now of like giving time for myself. Like this is the first time I left the crib this week. I kid you not. Like I spent this week staying in, like focusing on my work, and then like I'm also learning how to DJ. So I was like, I'm gonna just lock in for a week and learn how to DJ.
Right.
And so like I was like, now I'm outside. But like spending time for myself and just chilling, like watching TV. Like there was like a 6-month period when I did not watch the show because I was just always working.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, let's just do like random stuff, like eat popcorn and like watch show. Like I'm watching BMF right now, just like chilling by myself. Like, enjoying my own presence.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm getting to like that self space now. But there's always like a want to go forward, whether it be like learning how to DJ while I'm at the crib or like taking business calls. Like, yeah.
Yeah. You know what is that's funny. I like that. Yeah, sometimes you have to enjoy your own presence. It's important.
For sure. Like even with New York, like people don't know that I live in New York, which is funny.
I didn't know you lived in New York, bro.
Yeah, because I'm never here. Like I was in Ghana. I
thought you lived in Bay Area. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, like I was in SF for like 4 weeks. I was in Ghana for 2 weeks. I was in Stockholm. I was in London. I was in Berlin. Like I was in Orlando, Dallas, LA. Like I've been everywhere but here.
Yeah.
And so like now I'm like, okay, I was like, I've been doing way too much. Like let's just chill out. So I was like, I'll be intentional about like staying in the crib for a week. And now I can enjoy myself this weekend. It's gonna rain, but like, hey, like I'm here now.
Like I'm outside.
Here.
Okay,
I'm semi outside. Yeah.
Out of all the places you've been, like what stands out? Like what's your favorite city? And then which city surprised you? You were like, I don't really expect this to be fire, but it kind of low key. It kind of is fire.
Ghana.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Explain more. Because people have told me about Ghana, but like I need to hear it.
Yo, Accra. Oh my gosh. When I tell you it was fun every day, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And also like Dirty December is like a big thing that I like was told about, but I didn't realize like what they really meant until I went there. But like there's all the celebrities or everyone that like is from Ghana, they basically come back for like the holidays. And so like I met a lot of people and like I made a lot of good connections there. Like I went to multiple places and like Chance the Rapper would be like right next to me. Like I went to dinner and like he was sitting at the table next to me. I'm like, that's wild. Go to an event, he'll be there. Or like Vic Mensa or like Dave Chappelle was at the party too. Like WizKid was next to me in the club too. I was like, and it's random. Like it's be chill. Like no one's like pressing anyone. Like it's like all very like cool. So
that's your vibe as well.
I was I'm going back every year most likely. What? And I'm throwing parties there this year for sure. Like we've been tapping with DJs already. Like there's a collective out there that we've been talking to help potentially do their events in the States. So like if that goes through, I'll let you know. But it'd probably be pretty big. So yeah, there's like it was a great time. And like I definitely would want to at least spend more time on like the continent of Africa for sure.
Yeah.
Like I know I have roots in like Nigeria. I'd want to see that at some point. Definitely want to go to South Africa. I've heard I heard good things about like Cape Town in terms of just like the vibe there. But yeah, I just want to go around, like learn more about like heritage and stuff. So I think that was like probably one of the best trips I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Everyone I've spoken to has said that. Like they've cause I remember around December, like you go on Instagram, like on the stories, it was just people in Accra, like these parties. And it was like, you're seeing like the sun's coming up and they're still like,
I was at the club until 7 a.m.
Yeah.
It was coming up. What?
Yeah. For sure.
Crazy time. I'd implore everyone to go there. Like it's
Yeah.
insane.
No, I was talking about my cousins. I was like, we need to do like almost like a family trip because a lot of my family we're from Sierra Leone originally, which is close to Ghana. So it's like I feel like we can do both.
Yeah,
We
you
can get
could.
both in there.
You should. You should.
Um,
1 week each, something like that.
yeah, for sure. I'm kind of interested in the different, like, from an events perspective, from like a party perspective, the difference between cities.
Oh yeah.
Because I spoke to someone. He doesn't do like parties. He does more like networking events, and he was talking about the difference between like San Francisco and New York. Like you can actually, there's like a discernible difference in like the vibe of an event.
Yeah.
Can you kind of speak to that? Like, what would you say is?
Whether it be like music choice, like Bay Area music is very like it's very heavy Afrobeat. Like there's a lot of like people that are African that live in the Bay Area. Like there's less Caribbeans. Like when you come to Brooklyn, like I'm Caribbean myself, and I was like, we gotta have that on. Like we have to play Caribbean music. We need to play dancehall. We need to like turn up.
Yeah.
And so, but if we were to play that in San Francisco, it wouldn't go well. They'd be like, what the hell is going on, right?
Yeah.
But like, so like. Music wise, there's like a fine difference between that and also personnel and times. And it's hard throwing an event here as opposed to San Francisco. So like nightlife in San Francisco ends at 2 a.m. So the events be from 10 to 2 a.m. Here it's 10 to 4 a.m. So you got to pay an extra 2 hours for a DJ. You got to figure out when people are really coming, like how to like manage the flow of people. Like it's way harder to do that here than in like SF. SF is like a breeze compared. And so like more time you have to put in for New York events for sure. And then there's more competition here. Like there's like everyday people, there's like all that stuff that's going on here. So do you know everyday people? Like
everyday people.
Yeah. So like there's 1,000 events every weekend here in New York. In SF, like if it's an Elevate event, people just go there. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's like 2 other collectives I would say. Like there's something called Toasted Life that does a good job. But yeah, like more people know there's less groups that do like what we do out there versus here. Like you can find our music, our type of music, like a lot of places, but like the personnel you won't. Yeah. And so that's like the drive for it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's interesting. You mentioned some of the other events. I know for me with like podcasting, there's certain podcasts. Because even more than doing this myself, like I'm just a fan of the platform. Like I'm a fan of the style of content. I love conversation. So there's certain podcasts I look at and I'm like, they're really killing it. Like there's certain things about them, whether it be their marketing, whether it be the host, whether it be like the way that their set is designed. I'm like taking like things from everywhere. I'm curious for you from the event space. Are there certain events like you mentioned? I don't even know, like maybe an everyday people. That you just like admire, that you kind of look at and you're like, okay, like I want to we're going to be on that sort of time.
Yeah. From a large event perspective, I would say like Everyday People does a great job. Like when I turned 21, I went to an Everyday People Day party. And like it kind of had the same novelty as ours now because like there was always a wait list to like get to Everyday People. Now they throw it way more frequently. So like people won't be pressed to go to an event. But there's always a good time.
Their shit sells out though.
Oh, for sure.
Their shit sell out quick.
Before it used to sell out like for real.
Okay, sure.
But like, yeah, Everyday People I think is really dope. I would say, yeah, comparison wise, like I feel like we reached like a certain niche, and so like we don't aspire to do exactly what Everyday People is, but to have the amount of people to throw something as big as that. Like our biggest event was like 500, I would say. But like Everyday People, when you go to like Knockdown Center, that's like at least 1,000. There's probably 1,000 people. I don't know, and it's insane.
Yeah,
like, and they can do it in other cities. Like when I went to what spoke to me is kind of how they move. Is when I went to Afrotech, they had an event at Soho House that I went to, and it was jumping in Austin. I was like, oh, they just do like smaller activations, smaller parties, places. It's like we threw some stuff like at Afrotech too. I was like, let me send out like a party full, see how many people want to join. It was like 150 people. Then we threw like a pregame. We talked to this bar. We're like, can we invite people to come here? Like just threw like a event to get our name out. There were like 200 people at like the club. I mean, I was like, it's cool. So like following, not doing their model, but like how they have a presence in multiple cities, but they can just like a one-off thing. Like I saw they went to like Dubai and did something. I was like, that's cool. Like I want to have the personnel or like the name brand recognition to say like, I want to go to like this city and just throw it. And then like, yeah, so I think they do a good job about that. But they've been in the game for years. So like, I'm not pressed about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's cool to be a brand, isn't it?
for
'Cause
sure.
I saw I was even seeing that they were doing like some in London and stuff,
hmm
and seeing it on people's stories of like people that I know from back home.
hmm
And it's cool that like when people just see your name, like they just know the vibe of that. Like
Oh
they
yeah.
know what it's gonna be. It doesn't matter what city it is.
hmm
Like they know what's up.
Yeah.
Um,
Brand is important, and we try to like vet whoever we bring in, whether it be like a DJ or like photographers. Like make sure like it's all consistent and aligned with like what we want to do, right? And
yeah,
so yeah.
yeah. You have any like I know you've been in this game, like you've been doing it for 6 months. Has there ever been like a moment where you're like, because the thing is, 6 months and you said every event is sold out. That's
Yeah.
some crazy shit. Like
Mhm.
that's impressive shit. Um, has there ever been a moment where you're like, this ain't worth it, or like you're just kind of like disillusioned with the whole thing?
I wouldn't say that per se. There's moments where it's like, damn, like I don't want to have to do all this work right now.
Yeah.
But like I'm not trying to give away any equity right now. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do the work. So yeah, it's literally just like a team of two of us, and then we have like a homie Jelani that helps like MC some of the parties and stuff like that. But for the most part, just like me at a meeting like every day or every other day, just like grinding.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I've never been deterred from it. It's more so of like it's like damn, like I would rather not be up late because like so my co-founder lives in San Francisco. I'm
Mm.
here, so like 3 hour difference. So like it could be like 1 a.m. but it's chilling like at like 11, 10 for him.
Yeah.
But like I'll be up until like 1, 2 and just like let's just knock it out
Yeah.
before this stuff happens. So like the time difference is not ideal, but like I like it. It's a grind. I'm seeing the fruits of the labor.
Yeah.
So,
You
yeah.
know, one thing and I love that you said the word there. You said I'm not trying to give up equity,
Oh, at all.
and
1099s everywhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I remember like even when we were DMing before this, I remember one of the articles you sent me. It mentioned equity. I feel like it's an important word for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Representation, equity, whether it be like sweat equity, like equity in terms of like diversity, equity in terms of like financials, like
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty prominent word for me.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like I'm not gonna give a BS answer, but I would just say like I've seen it occur many times, like me mentioning it, and like get like knowing your worth and having like your worth like realized in general is important for me. Like I put in a lot of work, and like a reason why we did a Meet the Founders post on the IG is because people thought I was a promoter, and I was like, I'm a full-time product manager and I own
You like respect this shit.
yeah, I was like, I co-own this company. I don't promote. Like I've never promoted for anything that's not my own stuff.
Yeah.
Like anything that you see me promoting, it's like it's something that myself or someone else owns. And so like in the equity part or just like I don't know. Like letting people see that it's not just like a thing. Like someone was like, do y'all make money from this? Or like, oh, like can we all come in for free? Like why are y'all charging? I was like, well, have y'all not seen that? Like there's a line of 100 people outside that all paid waiting to get in. Like it's
Yeah.
like the changing the mind frame and people realizing like, oh, this is like an actual thing. And so yeah. I don't require praise. I just want people to know that like it's not an overnight thing.
Mm.
Like I feel like yeah, people to understand that. And even in just in general, like finding places that like people can like see like what they're worth. Whether it be like in tech, like pay discrepancy or like advocating for stuff that's like just not just like I would say that's just important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the things that I've noticed is that there's like a story behind everything, right?
Yeah.
And for me, like if you were close to me and you had to say like what's the word that I always say, like that I keep saying, it would be authenticity.
Mm.
And there's like a story behind that. Like there's a reason why that word means something to me. And so when you say equity, and like even when I'm sounds weird, but I'm like reading your body language, right?
Mhm.
Like as we're speaking, and you say like knowing your worth.
Mm.
There's certain themes that you're continuously touching upon, like equity, knowing your worth, ownership.
Mhm.
I want to know is there a story behind that? Is there a moment where, and some of the things that we feel the most deeply, I think it usually comes from two places. It usually comes from inspiration or like a painful moment.
Mhm.
So there's usually sometimes it's something that you heard and it just resonated with you so deeply that you're like, that's my shit. Like, that's my word. That means something to me. Or sometimes it's something that you experienced that was so fucking painful in that moment that you were like, this is like etched into me. Like the word authenticity for me, or like for you, equity, like this is part of me now.
Mm.
What's the story for you?
Story, that's a loaded question. I would say it's more to the latter of like the story part, or just like a lifelong, like, I would say it's like a track record. It's like I've always been like a hard worker, I would say, but like people didn't. When I was younger, I was definitely a class clown. Like I was just joking a lot. Like people didn't know that, like I was doing anything really until like I made a speech my senior year of high school. Like I started getting friends, I would say, like towards the end of high school, like from that summer program is like when I started making like most of my friends.
Mm.
But like people didn't know really what I was doing. And then I did a speech my senior year of high school, like talking about like what I did. Like I also owned a website company in high school. And so like I build websites, like I did one for like the CBS News anchor, Maurice Dubois here in the city, smaller companies and stuff like that. So like I was doing that. I was building GTA and like people didn't know about any of this stuff, but people thought I was just like cracking jokes.
Yeah.
And then like when I got into my school, they were like, shit, like how the hell did he get into the school? And then I did a talk about like what I've been doing in high school, and they're like, damn, I didn't realize that. Like people don't see like what's under the surface, right?
Mm.
And then like even now, like in college too, when I tell you, like I went to school outside of LA, I worked so hard. The only beach that I've been to is Santa Monica, and that was for like fall break.
Yeah.
I didn't hike. I didn't like hang out with friends. Like I literally worked all the time.
Yeah.
So I majored in computer science and economics. And so like my school is a consortium. And I was at Claremont McKenna studying economics, like one of the best schools for econ in the country.
Mm.
Then Harvey Mudd is ranked like top 3 for engineering and computer science.
Mm.
And so I enrolled at Harvey Mudd to do computer science there. But like the average GPA is like a 2 something.
Yeah.
Or like pushing a 3.
Yeah.
So like I was doing both courses at 2 different schools at the same time. So like my boy actually sent me a video of this like last week. If you meet anyone from my college, they'll know me for like probably 2 things, like or 3 things, like parties probably. During the week, they'll see me like skating, blast my music, or 3, every lunch I was by myself coding at the table. Like literally, I'd have my food here, like my laptop, and then just coding, eating every like literally every meal.
Yeah.
My boy sent me a video of it. Like people would understand, like I got all this stuff because like I worked every day. Like I didn't hang out with people until it was like Saturday night.
Yeah.
Literally, no one would see me. If they saw me, I was working every
Yeah.
day. And so like it's about like the sweat equity stuff now. Like even when I got into like these internships, it's all because like I interned like 6 internships in college.
Yeah.
It was all just because I was just like working the whole time. And so like yeah, people now don't realize like what's gone into it. Like this is just like permutations of like what's been going into like my hard work ethic for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah. Now I'm excited for you to see the fruits, man. I'm
Oh,
excited
yeah.
for you to
Good fruit.
yeah, the payoff. I'm excited
Yeah.
to see it. For someone that wants to get into tech,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they just want to start off with that internship or like that opportunity, you've obviously put a ton of work in. I think from my own experience, I know like when I've put a ton of work in, it's almost like percentages, right?
Yeah.
Like some of it is incredibly impactful and like you were working on just the right thing, but a lot of it is also stuff that you didn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. And I'm sure you've experienced that as well. Like it's not that impactful.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm looking to get into tech and I want to focus on just the things that work, like just the things that are meaningful for me breaking in and getting that opportunity, what would you say?
It's 2 things. It's like I would say in general, your network is your net worth. That's like my mantra. Like You're not supposed to look at people as like people who can help you, but like just make sure like you have a wide enough network where like if you need a favor or feel like you have a question, you can ask someone for that, right? And so like with me getting into tech, um, I first like my full time job, I got basically because like I was prepping a lot, but I found out that someone that went to my college was a director of marketing. That's how I got like my first in at my company.
Mm.
Then I internally networked, was emailing hella people to be like, can I switch the product?
Mm.
And then in the meanwhile, like every day after work, like I would study like cracking the PM interview and do mock interviews every day. So like one side is like try to find people or like just reach out to people who you think can help you
Mm.
or who you have questions for. And then second is like just prepare for the interview really. Because like once you get into the interview, if you do well, if you kill it, they're most likely to give you the offer.
Mm.
That's what I've realized. It's like you can have the best resume, and if you shit the bed in the interview, it's like you're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
And so like on the flip side, you could have a mediocre resume, but like you show that you can do it in the interview, then it helps.
Yeah.
Also, just like having confidence in yourself, and that's not anything that's like light to say. Like
Mm.
it takes a while to like do that. Like I know people who will be like, I have a 3.6, I don't think I can get this job, so I'm not gonna apply. I'm like, well, like you have probably a good chance, but like just don't beat yourself down. Like I just like shoot my shot with like everything. Like work wise, like I'll apply to like the best companies. I'm like I deserve to do this. Like
Yeah.
like affirmations type shit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. What gives you confidence?
Knowing, I think my confidence grew a lot in the last like year or two.
Yeah.
But I would say just like looking back at what I've done, I was like, I don't know anyone or I don't know many people that have done similar stuff to me. And so I'm just like, I've seen what I can do in the past and I know I can keep doing it and doing it better. Like the job I have now, people go to MBA to get.
Mm.
Like half of the people in my cohort are like 30 and change that came from like their MBA cohort and
Mm.
then came to do like my job. And so I'm just like, I have like a buffer of a couple years and like expertise, right? And so I'm
Mm.
like, if I can do this now, I feel confident that like I can, whatever I put my mind to, I could do. Like whether it be the event stuff in 6 months, like having all sold out events in 2 different continents, like that's dope. And then like
Mm.
the photography stuff, I've had it in museums since like high school. So it was like knowing what I can do in certain areas and feeling confident that I could do it in anything. Like even with the DJ stuff now, like I'm not great at it, but I know I'll be nice at it in the next like month or two if I put like an hour in a day.
Yeah.
That could be really good. So yeah,
Yeah.
the proof record of like, and also having confidence that like what you do can translate into success.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the sweat equity.
for
Okay,
sure.
no, I like it. I like it. I'm curious about the decision to enroll at Harvard Business School.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, I look at you and like the stuff that you've achieved and you're already in tech. And you even mentioned there, you're like, the job I'm doing now, like people will have like do like a master's or do like
Mhm.
MBA to get in this spot. What you've done with your events company, like you're an entrepreneur, like you've already done your own shit.
Mm.
Why did you want to go to Harvard Business School?
My grandma.
Yeah.
For sure. And I'm so like I got into, it's called 2+2. It's a deferral program that you apply to your senior year of college. And so I had between 2 to 4 years to defer. So I can either I can go this year, I can go next year or the year after, or I can choose not to go at all.
Mm.
I think I'm fairly sure that I'm gonna enroll, but I think more so just like for like the lineage and like for my grandma per se, she's like an immigrant coming from St. Vincent. She was like, I want like one of my kids to like go to an Ivy or like in my lifetime to know that like the sacrifices that I've made have like translated, right?
Yeah.
And if I can also have like for me personally, like I wasn't super pressed on it. Like I was like, this is a great to know that I could go to the school, but like what's really pushing me is like the network that I'll get and also knowing like how I'll make like my family members feel
Yeah.
for me going. So like that's a big part of it. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting though because I haven't been in debt in a while. Like they don't give you money like that at all. So I'm like, damn, this is gonna be hard. But if the business keeps booming,
Yeah.
I feel confident that like I'll be able to pay that back. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Damn, when you said the lineage, I was like, damn, that's like,
oh for sure.
that motivation's next level.
I heard this quote. I think it was like my grandma. She was like, "Are you okay with mediocrity?" And she was like, my school was good and like for my bachelor's, but like not a lot of people know it. It was a liberal arts school, but you want to be like, oh, my grandson went to Harvard, or like my grandson went to this. It's like I applied to all the top business schools.
Yeah.
I got into all the ones that I applied to, and then I was like, damn. My grandma was like, well, what's the biggest name? I guess.
Damn.
So yeah,
you don't miss, bro.
Oh, sometimes. Definitely do miss sometimes, but
yeah. You know, and it's cool. I like that quote. Are you okay with mediocrity?
Yeah.
Your family got some big expectations for you. They looking at you. They're like, he the one. Right
Yeah,
here.
that's why all the compliments are like real small. Like to me, like even like the events, like sometimes I'll like sit and be like, damn, like this is crazy. But like I want to see like the grandiose, like until I hit a mill, I'm not satisfied with all of it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A mil in like dollars or what?
A mill is still low. I like
yeah, you're already thinking about the next thing right now.
When I tell like I really think about the next thing. Like I know what I could do. Whether it be like tech events, like I'm starting to get into content creation now. Like there's so many streams of income that can be had. Like I see what people have. I was like, I like that. Like I want to be to that same level, and I know I can. That's the thing. Like my thing is like, yes, like this can happen. So I feel like if I keep prophesizing that, it'll happen eventually. But still not content with the stuff yet.
Yeah, I remember growing up. My first 10 years, I lived with my mom, and then the next, I would say 8 years, I lived with my dad. My dad is very disciplined, and I remember when we first started living together, I was very like an average student. Like I was so dead average now when I think about it. Like I remember I found one of my old English books. That shit was so average. Like it was like I would get like 50, 60%, like C's. Like that was like my thing. Like it was like average. And I remember my dad saying to me, he was like, we used to have like the way that it was organized at my school in the UK, they had like different classes based on like your grades. So I was in kind of like the middle set, and like there's the top set, which are like the kids that get the best grades, are basically all in there. And he was like, you're going to be in that group in like the next year. And at the time I was like, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then we slowly put the work in, and I was like getting more disciplined. And at first I was getting the results because I just wanted to make like him proud. Like I wanted him to be like happy, whatever. Almost I guess similar like what you're saying with your grandma and your family. But then it's like you just start to enjoy the process of achieving. And I loved that feeling of working for something and then getting it.
Oh, for
like
sure.
in a way, it makes you feel powerful. It's like anything that I see that I want, I can get. That's like a dangerous individual, like someone that can.
Yeah.
Like when that clicks in your mind, it's like anything that I want, it's like it's out there for me.
Have you seen that Diddy video?
Nah.
There's a video where he slaps the table. He's like, anything that I want, I can get verbatim. And that's the same video that my boy showed me when I did All-Star Code as a sophomore. And that's been a thing for me for a while. I'll show you the video after this.
Yeah.
But like that motive of like, yeah, I can get whatever I want for real. Like if I just put the work in. So definitely agree.
Yeah.
And like at the beginning, it was like, damn, I want to do this for my family. But then now it's like, I want to do it for them, but also for me. Because I see what I could do. Like one of my saying since like high school, my boy John told me about this when I was also in that program. It was about like shifting paradigms. Like that's like one of my visions, is like to shift paradigms in whatever way that I see fit. Like whether it be like before we threw our events in San Francisco, like there really wasn't that space for people to like connect like that, right? And so like shifting like, oh, like it shouldn't be normal for like it to be like this whack. Like let's kind of like build a space for people to like meet each other and like enjoy each other and like actually have a fun time. It's like whether it be that or like showing people that it can be done, that you can do X, Y, and Z, like and just lead by example. Like Yeah, shifting period. Like my IG name used to be like Paradigm Shifter. Like,
Yeah.
shit, you not. So like, yeah, like that's a thing for me. Like anything I want, I can get, and I just gotta work towards shifting those paradigms to do it.
I fuck with that. It's like
Yeah.
the phrase that comes to my mind is like set the standard.
Oh yeah.
Like I used to think a lot about that. I'm like, I want to set the standard. Like I want to. This is what it is now.
Yeah. Be time.
Okay, let's finish with this. You're someone who's obviously like, you think a lot about like the next thing, the next accolade, the next thing that you're going to achieve. What do you think is the point? Is there a point where there is no next? Is there a point where you achieve something that you're like, not that you're done in the sense of you just stop doing everything, but like, this is my moment. I feel immense pride from this thing that I just did right here. Is there something in your mind that you think can do that?
From like a psychology point of view, so I took like org psych in college. There's something called like Maslow's needs of hierarchy.
Yeah.
And basically like the end is like, I think, self-actualization. And like, but kind of like the argument is like there's always something more. Like all the richest people still want to end up getting more money. Like I kind of don't want to do that. So what I need to do is like write down a list of things that like I want to accomplish, and then like be okay like once I hit the things on the list. Like one of them being like the nonprofit. That's a non-negotiable. Like I want to do that in the future. I want to be able to like buy houses for like my parents, stuff like that. Like I need to sit down and think like, what are the key things I want to do? Like what's the exit strategy? Like what's the impact I want to have while I leave this world? When I leave this world. And so, yeah, I would just say definitely it's going to be around like community. Like community and equity has always been like in like my vocab. And so whether it be like my local community in Canarsie, or just like the diaspora, or just like helping people get into tech, or helping people get into like whatever they want to do, figuring out in which ways I want to do that and where my skills align for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I want to just have something that can run itself after I'm gone. Yeah. And now I have like impact. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think the emotion is when you do invariably do that? What do you think the emotion will be? Will it be relief, happiness? What will it be?
A little combination of both, probably. It's like relief, like, okay, it's time, like finally time for me to chill. Like happy I was able to do what I accomplished. Yeah, 'cause I feel like with anything that you do, for me personally, like, what's the meaning of life if you can't like help others or like bring them up with you, or like help people when you leave? Like that's why they're trust. That's why like people pass stuff down, like heirlooms, stuff like that. Like you need to be working towards something that's more than yourself. And so like the satisfaction knowing that like I'll make someone else's life easier is good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Nah, man, it's gonna be an inspirational episode for people, and I think it will be like it would be cool for the people that have like been around you, and like seen you working and like seen you grinding to like see what some of the thinking was, and like the way that you think about things and your work ethic, like it's special. So
appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
It was a good ass conversation.
Yeah, solid.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the channel. We're having fire conversations every week on the podcast. Before we end the episode, a quick word from our sponsor, Free Agency. What if I told you there is a good chance you're leaving money on the table in your career? It would kind of annoy you a bit, right? Well, Free Agency aims to stop that. They represent and manage talent in the tech industry. Here's how they do it. First, they provide you with a dedicated talent agent. Think about this as your career quarterback. They understand you and your career goals. Based on that understanding, they bring you suitable interviews at top firms. You focus on smashing the interview, and together with their network, research, negotiation expertise, they will make sure you get a top of market salary. Stop job searching alone and start building your dream career
today with free agency.